Hello, everyone. It is time for the very first Get to Know Her episode of 2022. Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you're all off to a good start. I know it's a challenging time right now, but we just have to keep our spirits lifted and keep on talking to amazing people and getting to know new women. And today, you guys are going to meet Hanna Ellis from Sault Ste. Marie, and she is an incredible artist. I'm going to do the official intro, but what I wanted you all to do right now while I'm doing my little intro is actually open up your phone and go to her Instagram page just so you can see her and get the vibe and really get in the mood for this conversation. So her Instagram page is Hanna, spelled Hanna, Sofia, Sofiaa. Go to that page, Hanna Sofia. 3 N's, 2 A's at the end. And now I'm going to do my intro while you're looking. So before I start, I wanted you to see, because I'm interviewing Hanna, I thought I needed something kind of with a vintage look. So I have this gorgeous dress from Brenda Bedome, which I got quite a few years ago. And it's so pretty and so comfy. So make sure you check out our sponsor, Brenda Bedome, at brendabedome.com. Use the coupon code Get to Know Her because she's giving us all 21% off when we order with her. So treat yourself for sure. And also you have to go and visit the Glam Jewels showroom online because we have all kinds of new jewels on our website. Check them out. There's earrings, necklaces, bracelets. We even have more mask chains because, believe it or not, they've made a comeback. Oh my gosh, I can't believe mask chains have been around for almost 2 years now. Anyway, my friends, I'm going to introduce our guest now. Let's not wait another minute. Today, you're going to meet Hanna Ellis. Hanna Ellis, also known as Hanna Sofia on social media, is a self-taught artist, her main medium being photographed self-portraits. She started this practice as a child and began sharing her work on Instagram in 2012 at age 17. After years of sharing her work into the void of the internet, Hanna's work was eventually noticed by several brands. This led to advertising and marketing opportunities for her work, including having one of her self-portraits published in Vogue UK in collaboration with Australian jewelry company 1801 Jewels. Hanna does everything for her photos herself. Are you on her page? Like, can you even believe that? Her hair and her makeup, her styling, her set design, her lighting, and she will often design and make the clothing that she wears in her photos. Her practice is largely inspired by the glamour of old Hollywood. I found out about Hanna from my mom, who listens religiously to Tom Power do his show on CBC called Q. And she heard a lovely interview with Hanna and said to me, "You've got to get in touch with this girl. We need to hear from her." So, Mom, Hanna is coming on to tell us everything. Here we go.
Hi.
Hanna, I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm so glad to be here.
This, and also a lot of people, I didn't write it in the bio, but people may not realize that you are living in Sault Ste. Marie. And we're here, I'm here in Burlington, and I woke up to minus 18 and said, I'm going to skip my walk this morning, which of course I regret now, but how's the temperature there? What are you guys dealing with right now?
I've just been avoiding going outside, to be honest. It's not the best. There's probably, 3 feet of snow out there.
Oh, geez.
Not ideal.
Yeah. That's a lot. Well, good. I'm glad. See, now I get you all to myself. You're cozy at home. I love the blanket. Is that blanket, is it a vintage piece or is it something you made?
No, it's actually something that my grandma made, my mom's mom, to give it to me for Christmas last year.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, it's great. I love that styling. I know it well. Yeah. So Hanna, we're going to dive into everything, but everybody wants to know. First question is, what did little Hanna want to be when she grew up?
I wanted to be a ballerina. As cliche as that is, I feel like most little girls go through some sort of phase where they're like, oh, I want to be a ballerina. I really, really did.
You did, eh?
Yeah.
And did you pursue that? Did you?
Well, I danced competitively for, oh gosh, years and years and years. I ended up getting my BATB certification, my British Association Teachers certification in ballet, but I never really did anything with it per se.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, that was my first artistic training, I guess, of anything was in dance.
Wow. And how old were you when you started that?
I think I was probably like 4 when I started dancing.
Okay.
I danced all the way up until I was in high school, and I still do dance classes, bars, that sort of thing now, but not to the degree that I did. But
wow. That's fantastic. So tell us about when you got the phone call from CBC wanting to, how did they get in touch with you?
I actually had one of the producers for the program reached out on Instagram. And they just said, hey, Tom Power wants to talk to you. If he can give you a call. And I was like, oh, okay. That was really exciting.
Oh, I'm so excited for you that you had that opportunity, because now, you know, reading a little bit more about you and having heard the interview, I mean, you've been at this for a long time.
Yes.
You started when you were 17, correct?
Yep, I mean, I started taking self-portraits well before then. I was probably like 13 or 14 when I started doing that, but I didn't start actively sharing them, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Until I mean, Instagram became a thing, and I had a smartphone, and one thing led to another, I guess, and here we are.
Wow. So what got you into the idea of that? Because if you had started at 13 or 14, that was before selfies or anything like that, right? Like,
yeah,
so you were really exploring the art of taking photos of yourself.
Like, I've always loved portraiture, and it was something that I've been interested in for a really long time. But being from Sault Ste. Marie, and like, I grew up in a rural area where there wasn't really any access to anything really, so I figured the easiest way of getting into that was just to do it myself. So having a camera and a self timer and a lot of imagination and free time, I guess.
Right. And you know, Hanna, the thing that really blows my mind as well is, like, of course we look at those photos of you and it looks, I won't say it looks effortless, because it doesn't, but you as the model, you look very relaxed and you're really vibing with what you're trying to put across, right? Like, you're almost transcendent in a way. It's like we can really feel the energy that you're portraying in the photos. But it's one thing to have a photographer shoot and a stylist tell you how to stand and what to do, and then get into that mode. But when you're doing all of those parts yourself, I can't even imagine, like, how do you even do that? And I also want to acknowledge the amount of practice that it must have taken to get those shots. I wanted to share with you, I saw on your Facebook page your 10-year challenge, and wow. Yeah, a lot's happened in the last 10 years, you know, in what you've learned. And so how did you practice? Is it something that you set out to do? Like, every day I'm going to do so much, or?
Not really, to be honest. It's just sort of been a long, slow process. It's, I don't know, like, it's hard to explain. It's just one of those things, I guess. Once I started, I said, okay, well, I'm going to get really good at this. And, well.
Yeah. That's great. And is there anyone who's doing it who's influenced you, or do you have a mentor that you sort of go to for ideas, or
Not really. Like, all of my inspirations for the most part are old photographers. Like, I just love going through photography books. I've got a whole bunch of them. Like, I think the first one that I got was Imogen Cunningham. She did portraiture and that sort of thing in like the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, like that era. Like Man Ray was another big influence. Horst P. Horst. I don't really have a whole lot of modern influences per se, but there's a lot of local photographers that I'm super inspired by. And like one of my best friends, Chloe Moore, is also a photographer, and she does self-portraits. So we sort of bounce ideas off of each other and that sort of thing. So it's, yeah, there's inspiration everywhere.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And the photo that that Vogue picked up, I was fascinated when I listened to your interview on Q that you were actually laying down on the floor, that you set that up on the floor. You know, and when you look at it, it looks like you're in this luxurious bed or like a lounge chair or something. And I'm like, oh my God, this poor girl is like, you know.
Pretty much all of my pictures are taken in like a maybe 3 foot by 4 foot space between my wall and my bed. When you don't have a lot of space to work with, you kind of have to get creative. So I kind of, you know, I've never had a budget. I've never really been able to work in a studio or do any of that. So you work with what you have.
Yeah.
Picture in Vogue actually was, I set up the backdrop behind me, and then I was actually shooting into a mirror.
Okay.
So it's actually like the reflection that you see, not actually me in that picture.
Oh, it's the reflection. Okay. Because I noticed the image behind, I thought that was the mirror behind you, but it's actually
most of my pictures are taken directly into the mirror because it's easier to work with the space, because you can angle the camera to get a broader space behind you, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. So great. I love what you're saying. I love this notion of like when you don't have a lot, you have to work with what you have. And I think, you know, during the pandemic and everything, a lot of artists, you know, it's like you take away from us and all of a sudden we can create new unimaginable things, you know. It's
absolutely
having less can almost spark more creativity than when you have everything that you need at your fingertips, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get an actual like digital camera until this year either. So it's like when I first started taking pictures, it was mostly with my phone. So like you really have to again, work with what you have. Otherwise, you know. And they say that it doesn't matter what your equipment is, if you have fancy equipment, or if you like, you know, an artist will create regardless.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's amazing. So Hollywood Glamour, I love it. And you're, I mean, if you were 17 in 2012, we know that you did not grow up directly with the Hollywood Glamour. So why Hollywood Glamour? What sent you on that path?
I love old movies. I love everything old. And, you know, a lot of my style is vintage. Like, I mean, I'm wearing my mom's dress right now. Like,
aww.
And it's like, it's always been an inspiration. Like, you know, old Hollywood musicals, and a lot of my work, like I look at my work as escapism, and a lot of those movies, like in the 30s and 40s during the Depression and the war, like that was all just pure Hollywood escapism. So it's, you know, like why I create is similar to why those directors created the work that they did then.
I love that. I wanted to ask you about that, because when I look at your images, I see that escape into like a world that no longer exists, right? And you're recreating it and you're bringing it back to life. Have you found, Hanna, that during the pandemic, this art form has been a big help to your own mental health? Like,
it always has been.
Yeah.
Like before the pandemic, it has been. Like, I mean, even with dance and everything, art has always been an escape for me. Like I always think about my dance teacher, like going into dance class saying, you know, you leave your problems at the door. And like, that's kind of how I've approached everything that I've done in art. You know, if I'm going to paint something, you leave everything out and you just paint, or you just photograph, or you just dance.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, especially, I mean, this has been such a hard time for everyone. And it's nice to just not have to worry about that for a second, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I can imagine it, you know, I love that vision of like leaving everything at the door and then you're walking into something really magical that you're creating yourself. And do you find that the time just goes by and you don't even notice, like that you just sort of get lost in it?
To my detriment sometimes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So of all of the Hollywood movie stars, all the actresses, do you have a favorite?
Oh,
is there someone you're...
I mean, like, I've always just loved the musicals with dancing in them, so I'm partial to Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. Those are my favorite. Gene Kelly, Sid Charisse, Rita Hayworth, Marilyn Monroe, evidently.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. One of my favorite Marilyn Monroe movies. Did you ever see The 7-Year Itch?
I love The 7-Year Itch. That one's great.
I love it too. I have this memory of in like the 70s, my brother and I and my dad, we were all at the cottage and my mom had to work, so she was coming later. And it was like dead of winter and we had to get warm. All we had was a black and white TV. I guess it was the 80s because we had just got a VCR. And my brother figured out how to hook it up and we watched The 7-Year Itch, like my brother and my dad and I all in bed under the covers. And I just thought, oh my God, this movie is amazing. And one thing that's always stuck with me that I still do today is, do you remember when Marilyn Monroe dipped her potato chips into the champagne?
Yep.
Do you remember that scene on the... I always thought when I, you know, can drink, when I'm old enough to drink champagne, I'm going to dip potato chips in. And so I did. Yeah.
He plays it off.
Yeah. Yeah. She's quite something. It's amazing. It's, also the makeup, like you've got the makeup dead on. That must have taken a lot of practice to... How long does it take you to do your makeup to prepare for a shoot?
I mean, now, like, anywhere between 20 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on how extreme I'm doing it. But if I'm going to work, like, 10 minutes, you know.
Yeah.
Foundation, lipstick, eyebrows, go to work.
Actually, one of my viewers wanted me to ask you today what kind of lipstick you wear, because she'd already checked you out on Instagram. And
oh, this is going to be embarrassing. Okay, my lipstick's actually from the Dollar Tree. It costs $1.25. It is a off-brand liquid lipstick. It's dirt cheap, but it's the best. It stays on all day.
What?
Even if you're a mask, it doesn't go anywhere. Like, it's great.
That's fantastic. And it's a liquid lipstick.
Yep.
Okay. We'll have to look that up.
I think the brand's called Cosmic Colors or something like that, but okay. I could very well be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But $1.25 Dollar Tree.
Oh, I might surprise her with one because I don't live far from a Dollar Tree. So perfect. That's great. So Hanna, you also have a full-time occupation on top of this.
I do. Yeah, I work at the Art Gallery of Algoma.
Lovely.
It's nice. It's still art to some degree. Instead of making it, I'm just working with it and around it. So yeah, it's nice.
That's great. And have you had the opportunity to meet a lot of the artists that are exhibited there, or?
A lot of the local artists. Like I work predominantly in the gift shop there, like dealing with consignment artists and that sort of thing. So it's been really nice to get to know the local art community and being around that all day is just, it's great.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, it's so nice that you're able to work like in the same sort of you're surrounded by art in everything you do.
Yeah.
It's
always inspiring.
Yeah, that's so great. So where are you hoping that your self-portraiture will take you? Do you have like a big vision for it, or are you just sort of like, let's see where it goes?
Well, to be honest, I didn't expect it to go anywhere in the first place. Like, I
really
sort of took my pictures, threw them out into the internet, and hope for the best. But
yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I'm just going with the flow at this point. Like, it's, if opportunities come, they come. If they don't, they don't. But
yeah.
I don't know.
Do people ever ask you for prints of your pictures, or?
They have.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about setting up a website to sell them, but I haven't gotten around to that yet. But
yeah,
in the future, maybe.
Yeah. I could see even, like you would be great on a board for, like, even for a movie set of, advising people on how the women in the movie should dress, like costume design.
Well, I've actually done some costume design for local theater productions, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So something that I'm, like, I would love to do more of that. I know, obviously, given COVID and the situation now, it's not happening as much, but I've, it's fun.
Yeah, that's great. And you do make a lot of the clothes that you wear in the photos, correct?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say probably, oh gosh, I don't know, maybe like 30% of my wardrobe is stuff that I've made, and the other 70% is vintage pieces that I've picked up.
Great. So do you collect old dress patterns and things like that?
Yeah. I do.
Oh, good. Where do you get those?
Oh, everywhere. Yard sales, church sales. People have given them to me. I went and picked up a whole estate's worth, actually, at the beginning of the pandemic. Something close to, like, I think it was like 2,000 patterns or something ridiculous. But like, it's, I don't often make dresses right from the patterns. I'll usually look at them and go, okay, I like this, but I want to change this, or I want to do this. So that's something I've been working on too, is just learning how to draft my own.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it's another fun little pandemic project.
Yeah, that's good. We need lots of those. So you were mentioning that your grandmother had knit the blanket behind you.
Yes.
So tell us about her. What does she think of what you're doing?
I think she's supportive.
Yeah.
Always, likes and comments on my stuff on Instagram. And actually, a lot of the vintage pieces that I wear are actually things from her. Like the belt that I'm wearing in the Vogue shoot was something from her attic. And she saved a lot of her clothes. She was a very, very fashionable lady. So I've got a lot of her pieces from the 50s and 60s in my wardrobe. So it's really nice.
Oh, that means so much. Yeah. Has she influenced you? Like, did she talk about those movies that you love or anything growing up? Was there influence from your grandmother?
I mean, like, a lot of why I got into vintage in the first place was just due to spending hours and hours and hours in her attic. Like I said, she saved so much stuff. So, like, she's got old catalogs from Simpsons, Sears, and all that stuff. So flip through those. She's got scrapbooks that she gave me for Christmas this year, actually, that she had made in the 40s and 50s, where it's all cutouts from movie magazines and pictures of the stars, like, Rita Hayworth and Greta Garbo, and it's amazing.
Wow.
And I don't know if she knows how much she's influenced me, but she really has been a huge, huge influence.
Yeah, that's great. So have you sort of also dove into these actresses who you admired and learned about their life? And
oh, absolutely.
That's
you
have
biographies and just online research, that sort of thing too. So it's super interesting.
Yeah, it must be fascinating to read about their lives and just the difference of where we are today, as women, how much we've evolved since that time.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. It is incredible sometimes when you look at those women and you know, even when you look at someone like Marilyn Monroe, like she was such a tragic, you know, her life story was so tragic, and then when you see her in those photos and on the big screen, she's such a powerful presence, and you just think, how could she possibly have struggled so much?
I mean,
when she had all this power, she didn't even realize.
Yeah, her life was so sad, but
yeah,
you know, and she was so much more talented, I think, than people give her credit for. Like a lot of the times, you know, you see the pictures, you hear the quotes and whatever, but then, you know, if you watch her in the movies, like she's an incredible actress. She's so talented. She's a comedic genius, and you know, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like when you're in your world and you've shut the door and you're entering into your self-portraiture little 3x4 space, do you feel like you have the energy of all these women with you, like you're honoring them and sort of almost channeling?
It would be nice to think, but honestly, most of the time I just go in there and black out. Like it's just sort of
yeah,
like it's I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's well, it just blows my mind. The more I hear about your the little tiny space and the whole creative process that you have, it's amazing what you're able to do with that.
Thank you.
It's so great, Hannah. So I do have some questions from some viewers.
Okay.
Are you ready to answer them?
I guess so.
So first of all, we have Kristen Wise. She has quite a few questions for you.
Okay.
And her first question is, do you think your work comments on any social or political issues? And if so, how?
Some of them do, some of them don't. I have done some work that is talked a little bit about addiction and sobriety. I've had a lot of my work too is sort of a personal comment on mental health or and just perception too. Like I think the whole issue of male photographers photographing women, like the male gaze, has been something that I've been trying to reclaim, I guess, in my work. You know, like a lot of those photographs of old Hollywood stars and stuff, they're all photos taken by men, styled by men. Generally, like, you know, if you look at pinups, that sort of thing, for the pleasure of men. Whereas taking pictures of myself in similar poses, similar ideas, like it's sort of reclaiming that from, you know, from men.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You're in control.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. And also Mary Mimi Hunter said the blanket is crocheted. Yes,
it is.
Yes. Yes. Got it. No, you know, I have a similar blanket from my grandmother, and there are squares the squares are all different colors, and then it gets smaller as it goes in. You know, that it's a pretty popular pattern as well. And I remember now that Mary said that, I remember her with her crochet needle doing those little squares. Do you ever experience art block or creative block, and how do you deal with it? I love this question.
All the time. I feel like every artist goes through periods where they're like, either they hate everything that they do, or you just sit there and go, I have no idea what to do. Honestly, the only way that I can really get around that is if I just keep doing something, keep changing things. You know, like when I create a photo, like it's just a lot of like adding things, taking things away, just constantly trying to figure out what's missing or what's wrong. You know, you just have to work through it.
Yeah. Yeah, like and on your page too, you often will do like 3 photos with the same sort of a look to them, which is a really cool idea. Because the other thing too, when you do get inspired and you go through all of that effort just to get one great shot, and you're probably working for hours. I'm glad you're showing more than just one.
Well, I'd say
Yeah.
anytime I sit down to take pictures, it's probably like, anywhere between 50 and 100 pictures that I take, and then going through and going, okay, that didn't work, that didn't work, that didn't work.
Yeah.
But, it's a
Yeah,
process.
that's for sure. Do you ever get really frustrated, Hannah, where you're like, oh my God, I can't, or is that something you used to experience and now you have more patience, or have you ever had that?
It was a lot easier to get frustrated when I didn't know what I was doing. Like now I sort of have a, more of an idea of like, okay, this is how I want my lighting to look. This is exactly how I'm going to get it to work,
Mhm.
Whereas before, learning that was obviously frustrating because you're going, okay, like I have this picture in my mind and it's not working. Why isn't it working? But
Yeah.
it's still a learning process. I'm still learning new things and figuring things out. So, I mean, frustration is natural, I guess, but
Yeah. Well, it's great because we don't see the frustration in your face ever on your photos. What's that?
That's strictly behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's all behind. It's so funny when I'm here at my studio, even if I'm like, trying to get a photo of a little necklace, sometimes I'll just do, the lips down kind of thing.
Yep.
And then I'm trying to get the angle, and unlike you, maybe I take 6 pictures, and if they all suck, then I start getting mad, right? And then the following pictures, all you can see is like my lips are stiff, and it's like, okay, I got to breathe, remind myself to give it some time.
Well, I mean, and naturally, you're going to be more critical about it than anyone else, too. Like, I know that I've taken pictures where I'm like, oh, I don't love this, but, and then somebody else will see it and go, oh, that's great. But then all you see is like, okay, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, or my face looks weird, or my eyes are doing a weird thing. It's, again, like you're going to pick that apart more than anyone else will. So
for sure. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, because what you're doing, it's such a gift to other people, right? You're creating these beautiful images, and then people are viewing them, and it's sparking emotion, it's giving them a feeling, it's giving them an escape. Have you had people reach out to you and share stories with you about how your photography affects them?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Really, really nice people that have reached out on Instagram or on Facebook, and have either said that like my pictures remind them of something, or even like with the clothing and stuff too. I've had people say that, like, I've had people send me stuff saying, this was my grandmother's, or this was something I collected and I'll never wear it, and they'll just send it to me to do something with. It's so sweet. Like there's some amazing people out there.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Your earrings today are very fabulous, by the way. So are those 1801s?
No, these are 1970s vintage.
Oh, cool.
Probably in like 5 or 6 pieces when I got them, and I just sort of sat there with a pair of needle nose pliers and fixed them up. But they're one of my favorites.
Oh, they look great. I love them. So the next question we have is, what do you think the role of an artist is in society?
I mean, kind of like what I touched on before, a lot of it is just escapism. Like, oh gosh, I think it was Picasso that had the quote, art brushes away the dust of everyday life, or something along those lines anyways.
Okay.
And it's, it's escapism. And especially with everything going on right now, I think we all need something to focus on that isn't all terrible.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I think also back to what I was saying before, you know, what you're doing, you're giving people a gift, like this notion of escapism. You know, you're just handing over a gift to people. It's like, here, come into my world, like, you know, a world that they may not even know. I mean, think of like, I'm 52. You know, my mom grew up in the 50s. My grandmother was born in 1913. I was exposed to so much of the Hollywood glamour, and
Yeah.
you know, I've always loved those things. And but a lot of people your age, Hannah, don't even know about it. You know, like, you're reintroducing an art form that a lot of, you know, younger people may not have explored or heard of, or,
Yeah, it's
you know.
like, I mean, like, yes and no. 'Cause, like, I really started getting into vintage, and then when I got online, I realized that there was like a whole community of people who were really
Mhm.
into the old Hollywood and the vintage and everything. So it's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's survived this long, and it will continue to survive, I guess. But
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think you've really nailed it. You know, it's so funny. I remember when I think I was in my 30s and the 80s started making a comeback. And that's when I went to high school, right? But the thing that always bothered me was that people who were doing it over again, they didn't get it. They'd wear like a Michael Jackson T-shirt with a, like with a Rolling Stones shirt underneath. And I'm like, no. People in the 80s wouldn't have worn those two bands. Like, you don't wear those two looks together.
no,
So that's where I think you're ahead, because you get the whole look. Like, you're not
I mean,
you're not mixing things up.
like as far as like costuming and stuff goes, like historical accuracy is obviously very important. Like, you know, you look at a character and go, okay, well, this show's supposed to take place in 1950. They're middle class, lower class family. They're going to be wearing stuff from 1946, not 1950, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, you have to look at the whole picture. It's not going to be 50s glamour. It'll be, you know, your everyday stuff. But for my personal style, it's just a mishmash of things that I like. And, you know,
Yeah.
like my dress right now, this is probably like late 70s, early 80s. Earrings are 70s. My hair is in hair rollers. Scarf is from the 50s. Like, it's, you know,
Great.
it's a mix of things. But
Yeah.
if I'm trying to go for a specific look, like,
Mhm.
you know, the research comes in handy, I guess.
Yeah. That's great. It's a whole education piece. It's amazing. Do you have a favorite piece of work or art that you've done? And if so, why is it your favorite?
Ooh. Well, that's tough. um, I mean, I did a couple of photos a while back with these glasses of water that I really, really liked. It was just sort of a spur of the moment idea. Like, if something came to me at like 2:00 in the morning, woke up, wrote it down, and then immediately the next morning I was like, okay, I need to shoot this. And
Yeah.
like, that was one of my favorites. But now when I look back at it, there was you know, maybe a year ago that I did that. Now I'm like, okay, I would have done this differently. I would have, you know.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's always changing, I guess. Like, my latest piece of work is always my favorite thing that I've done until the next. Then I'm like, okay.
Great. Yeah, that's great. You can see how you're evolving and changing, and
Yeah.
yeah. Um, would you say you find it easier to communicate, express yourself through your art than you do verbally with words? Like,
Well, you've listened to this interview. Like, I'm terrible, awful.
no, you're not. What are you talking about? You're great. You have a good sense of humor. You've got lots of interesting things to chat about.
I mean,
It's all good.
Like, I feel like whenever I go to talk about anything that I'm doing, like, I don't know, the words just don't come out the way that I want them to.
Mhm.
So it's definitely easier to communicate, like, visually. Like, that's, you know,
Yeah.
that's why I like photography. It's a completely visual medium. There's no sound, there's no words, there's, you know, it's just, here's the image, leave it at that.
Yeah.
Like, your own assumptions or, you know, your own opinions about it, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Do you write, Hannah? Do you do any writing?
I do, but nothing that I share.
Yeah. Do you enjoy that?
It's nice. It's more of like a personal thing, I guess. Like if I'm just, when I'm thinking about things or have an idea, like my notes app on my phone is just absolutely full of random things that I just, need to put somewhere, I guess.
Yeah.
But nothing that I've really felt like sharing. But
yeah. No, it's so interesting, and I find that was such a great question about specifically how is it easier for you to communicate it through your art or by speaking, and it's true. Like I think a couple of really wonderful things about being artistic is that you can put your feelings and your emotions into something other than your words. And you can also explore pain that way, and
absolutely.
It's a way, and it is hard to express with words.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. Even with dance, that was very much like a emotional escape. Thinking about that now, but it's the expression of emotions using your body, using movement without having to open your mouth and say something,
Yeah. So important.
It is.
I remember a particularly difficult time in my life. I decided one evening to just sort of calm down and do something good for myself. I was going to do a hot yoga class, and I hadn't done yoga in quite a while. And the emotions were like right there. And it was, this woman was sitting beside me, and she just looked over and gave you, when someone smiles at you and it's almost like they know that you're in pain and they just want to acknowledge you. Like you can feel their love coming through the smile. Yep. And oh my God, Hannah, the tears, like, and I couldn't describe how I was feeling. That all felt like cobwebs to put it in words, but it was just this tremendous release. And, I felt so much better after, but even to go back now and describe exactly what was going on with words, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. 100%.
Yeah. It's amazing. So I know you touched on dance. Jill McPhee did want to ask, you were a talented and elegant dancer. Do you still include dance in your life, which you do?
I definitely do. I mean, before the pandemic, well, not even really before the pandemic, like maybe like a month or two ago, I was taking a dance class. But given all of the cases in Sault Ste. Marie, that kind of came to an abrupt halt. But I mean, dance really informs what I do, though, even just through like posing or that sort of thing. It's it's something I'll always carry with me no matter what I do, where I go. It was so important, and it still is so important to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. I want you to start your website. I'm so excited. You got to let me know if you need any help or,
Well,
I've got lots of peeps that can probably give you a hand or anything you need. But Hannah, I had a question right at the tip of my tongue. See, I'm lost for words now too.
That's the best of us.
Yeah. I just, I just see your work, and I'm so inspired by it. And yeah, I would just love to have you in like a networking thing with like a bunch of people brainstorming about it and how you can really monetize this beautiful, if that's what you want, but I think it can really bring so much joy to so many people.
Well, I got
you're big to me. You're bigger than Instagram, that's for sure. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, no, you're awesome. I'm so happy that we got to chat today and learn more about what you're doing. And is there any advice that you'd want to give to someone who's starting out, like in any type of art?
Oh gosh, like the best advice that I can give is just go out and do it. It doesn't matter if you suck, just go out and do it. Keep doing it, keep trying, keep learning. I mean, like I'm pretty much all self-taught when it comes to photography. Like I've never taken a photography class. Like I've never, it's you just have to go, you have to try. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. That's amazing. There's a band in the 80s and anyway, you might not know them. They're Hall and Oates. They're like a duo. Yeah, you know Hall and Oates. Okay, they were like my favorite. I was obsessed with them growing up. And I remember in the early 80s, they interviewed Daryl Hall and they asked him, what does it feel like to be an overnight success? And he said, I started my first band in 1969. I'm a 22-year overnight success. And, it's so true. Like, it takes a long time. And I think we need to redefine what success is, because to me, when you can close a door and leave your troubles behind and walk into a room where you just escape and you've created this whole other world for yourself, that's the epitome of success, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Like, yeah. I mean, and with art, like, I feel like putting a monetary value on it, like, that's not really success. Success is if you can just create something and say, okay, I like this. One person likes it and it's you, that's great. You're successful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. I love that. And it's such a good message too, because, people are so hung up on social media and the likes and the followers. And, really, if you have 10 people who you're inspiring, that's good. Like, and they keep coming back for more. Like, that's awesome.
Absolutely. Like, I think I said this, I don't know if it was in the Tom Power interview or the just CTV interview that I did. But I would be creating my work regardless if 5 people saw it or 5,000 people saw it. It doesn't it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
you do it for you.
That's so great. When were you on CTV?
Right after the Vogue thing. I want to say it was like November, maybe.
Okay.
Awful, terrible interview.
Oh, you're just being hard on yourself. No, you've been so great. Sorry?
I was just going to say, like, I haven't actually had to talk about my work really until the whole Vogue thing hit the fan. So it's, that's just been a learning curve in itself. Like, just being able to talk about what I do, like, that's exceedingly difficult, but,
Yeah. Well, you're getting, I think you're pretty good at it. And so when the Vogue thing happened, like, what was your response to that? Were you like shocked or, yeah.
Absolute shock, for sure.
Tell us about that day. I want to know what happened that day.
Well, I got an email from Teresa, the owner of 1801 Jewels, and she essentially said, so Vogue reached out to me, and I had just taken a bunch of photos for her website and social media and whatnot. So she said she was going to send those photos to them. And in my head, I was thinking, oh, Vogue is reaching out? Like, that's not real. That's fake. Vogue just doesn't. they don't do that.
Right.
And then a couple of weeks went by, and they sent the proofs of the page with, how it would look in publication, and just seeing my face in the proof, I was like, oh, this is happening. Okay. It was a lot of shock and disbelief until I actually had the physical copy in my hand, and I went, okay, wow, this happened. It's really exciting, and I'm so happy for Teresa too, because she had started her business just through the pandemic. She was selling antique jewelry, and she just started doing her own designs. So it was, a big deal for the both of us. So yeah,
great. Oh, that's so amazing. So now with your highlight in Vogue, is it on your Instagram at the top, in the little highlight reel? Did you do a Vogue one?
I don't know if
I can't remember.
I did a Vogue one, but I know I did post about it, and I posted the photo when
Yeah.
it was published.
Okay.
And then I've got in my highlight reels, I've got the one for 1801 Jewels from our little collaboration. So
okay, perfect. That's good. Yeah, in case people want to see it. Wonderful. So Hanna, what's happening today? What do you got planned for the rest of your day in snowy Sault Ste. Marie?
Well, I'm going to check some work emails. Going to make another coffee. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Sounds good. And do you have any big plans for 2022? Like something you want to let people know is coming, or?
Well, I've got a couple collaborations that are coming up. I've got a really exciting local collaboration, actually, which is
great.
I'm hoping to start working on that in the next couple of weeks. So really excited about that, but I can't exactly say what it is yet.
Okay, we just have to keep following you then.
Well,
yeah. Great.
Yes, or
yes. Perfect. Stay tuned is good. Well, thank you so much for your time, Hanna. It's been really great.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. I love chatting with you. And I'm going to put you in the virtual green room.
All right.
All right. I'll see you in a minute. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hanna Sofia, Sault Ste. Marie, Hanna Ellis, I should say. But don't forget, you have to follow her on Instagram. Absolutely incredible, her work. Hanna Sofia, Sofiaa, which I'm sure you found her by now. Thank you for joining us. We will be back here again next week for another interview on the Get to Know Her show. And please go shop from our sponsors, brendabadome.com, glamjewels.com. Use the coupon code Get to Know Her on Brenda's site for 21% off of your order. Have a fabulous day and keep on showing the world your sparkle. We'll see you back here next week. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. We would love to have you. Talk to you soon. Bye.